There's so many rules in 40k, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Art of War stream. I'm John. This is also John, but usually we call him Jack Harpster.
Yeah, I do at least.
Yeah, at least he does.
At
In the
least
third person, it's a little uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, so Jack and John are here today.
We are, and we have gathered all of you, our lovely viewers, to talk about the Jack Templars.
Yeah, hot and spicy takes coming flying thick and fast.
Hot and spicy. As you all know, the Black Templar Special Edition box just went on pre-order this past weekend. And that means that we know what's in it. Because now all of our friends who got copies of the book have sent us pictures of the book. And that's just great. We love friends like that.
We do. And for anyone else, you can find there's plenty of reviews online. There's a review podcast that I recorded yesterday with Adam from Art of War Down Under.
Absolutely.
And so that's going to go up, I don't know when, but probably really soon.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So lots of new content coming out with the new Black Templar book. Very exciting rules inside, very thematic rules inside. I'm very happy with how they captured the feel of Black Templars. I think they did that very well. I think most of 9th edition they've gotten that part right.
Yeah, the feel of the armies felt good. The power level of the armies has been all over the place.
That's true, but where Black Templar's going to fall, we'll kind of figure it out soon.
Yeah.
We actually have a couple games coming up this week featuring the Jack Templars. Jack's going to be busting out Black Templars tomorrow on YouTube against Richard's Necrons, as well as Thursday in the War Room against My Sisters of Battle.
That's right. I'm coming for you, John.
I am so ready. You know what? There is only one army that is devout enough to deny the enemy's psychic powers on a 4+ for 1 CP, and it's mine.
No, you got it wrong. It's mine.
No, it's mine.
No, I have that rule.
Well, we're going to settle this on Thursday then.
We will. Neither of us will have psychers. It'll be great.
Nor should we.
0 psychers like God intended.
Right on. So yeah, let's kind of move on and get this thing started. So we'll probably do a little bit of reviewing kind of like the best part of each rule section. We're not going to read every single rule line by line. If you want that, there's a ton of great videos on YouTube that have that. Otherwise, you'll probably have the codex in your hand in a week.
And again, that's basically what we did in the review episode of Art of War Down Under.
Also,
we pretty much read it out line by line and then reviewed every single rule.
Yeah. I really just want to go over the highlights here and then spend a little bit talking about where we think the army's going.
Yes.
All right. So we're ready to start?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I honestly think we should start off by just going over the... I think we just start off with like the detachment abilities, aka the Templar Vows. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Jack, don't be a downer.
That's my hot take is...
No, get out of here, Jack.
Best part of the vows is that you have the option to not take any.
Okay. Jack. All right. I don't think I agree with that. I think that is a cold take, my good friend. So let's just talk about what the Templar Vows are really quick. So the Templar Vows are basically a rule that you get. It's Templars don't have a super doctrine. So
they don't.
None of this ties into doctrine, but they do have this rule if you have pure Black Templars. So the same way a normal Spaceman chapter would get a super doctrine when they're all Ultramarines. Templars, if they're all Templars, they get the Templar Vows.
Yes.
And Templar Vows is a series of 4 of them, and you get to choose one of the 4 pre-game, and that's your one for the game. And what I really like is that you do get to choose between games. So kind of similar to Sacred Rites for Sisters, you get to at least choose this pre-game. I'm a fan of that, honestly. I just like anything that's flexible and gives you more choices. And there are 4 vows in total. They've previewed 2 of them on the Warhammer community website, but I figure we'll give a quick recap of all 4 of them. Honestly, because this is just such a new mechanic, I think we actually talk about all 4 of them here.
Yeah, we can do that.
So the first one was Suffer Not the Unclean to Live. This one's the most familiar. It looks like the old Super Doctrine when Black Templars used to have it. which is that every time you roll a 6 to hit, it automatically wounds unless you're targeting a vehicle.
Which I really wish it hit vehicles. It's kind of the time when you really want it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I do wish that that it worked against vehicles. It does work against monsters, so if we ever get to a point in the meta where we're not seeing a lot of, planes and buggies, this could get a lot better. Like, we've got new Tyranid rules coming out next week. There's been rumors that there's Tau coming out early next year. If those things materialize and we start seeing monsters in battlesuits, and also like new Chaos rules, right? If Chaos Demons get some new rules, this could actually become really good. Right now, it doesn't feel amazing, but it's a choice. And if you ever play against those armies, I would definitely pull that one out. Yes. Each of these vows also has a passion, and a passion is kind of like a little downside where your Templars are just so enthusiastic about hitting people with a sword that they kind of forget to do stuff. So the passion for the first one, Suffer Not the Unclean to Live, is that, let's read it out actually. Each time this unit is selected to charge, the closest enemy non-aircraft unit that is within 12 inches and not within engagement range of any other Black Templar units from your army must be declared as a target of the charge. So
that is not a huge downside, to be honest. Yeah. It doesn't force you to charge your shooting units into your opponent because it's when you select the unit to charge. Yeah. It just forces you to include the closest unit that hasn't already been charged. And if there's a closer unit that has been charged, the closer unit usually is being charged. Yeah. The only times it might come up is if you're missing like a character in that can't physically touch both units.
Yeah, that's hard because then you just get to charge the closest thing basically.
Yeah, so it's not a huge downside, but it's not a huge upside either. So it's kind of
but if you're it's something you just kind of have to keep track of. I don't think it's the biggest deal.
Because it doesn't force you to only charge the closest. It forces you to just include the closest.
Yeah, if you have a large unit, which is certainly an option here, you can just string out a little bit. If you also have a lot of units charging, you can just start tapping things one at a time so that, and you can do it in a certain order to make things a little easier. Like if you just charge like a land speeder storm into, like 2 units, then they're no longer an unengaged unit, so you don't have to declare a charge on them if they're closer. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
you can do little things like that. And your army wants to be in close combat.
It's not as big a downside as similar effects that force you to charge the closest units because it doesn't obligate you to charge and it doesn't prevent you from charging things that aren't the closest. Yeah. So not like the biggest upside, not a big downside either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty in the middle. Yeah. The next one is Uphold the Honor of the Emperor. This is one of the ones that was not previewed and is brand new. Right. And I think this is the one that a lot of people are very excited about.
It is. I'm a little more mixed on it, although it is certainly an incredibly powerful effect. Yeah. So, Uphold the Honor of the Emperor. Mm-hmm. Your entire army gets a 5-up invuln, except for servitors. Yeah. And you can't be wounded on a 1 or a 2. And that is a phenomenally powerful defensive buff.
Very close to transhuman.
It is very close to transhuman.
It's very close to transhuman.
Terminator certainly like baby transhuman, things like that. It's a very powerful defensive ability. So they paired it with a very powerful or very bad negative, unfortunately. And the negative is that you cannot benefit from cover. And that is a big negative.
It is. Obviously, light cover on models with Storm Shields is really good. Again, though, at least you get to choose this before the game.
Yeah, but the main problem is you either build your list around it or you don't, I think. And that includes taking a whole lot of Redemptors and that sort of thing. But I still want my Storm Shield bros. Yeah. And even in that list, I want to take things that really desperately want cover. And so, as I said, I'm mixed. Because your 2-up armor guys go into a 1-up, and they have a 4-up invuln. They don't need an invuln.
Yeah. Light cover is a big one, obviously. A heavy cover as well, if you ever get it, is awesome for Black Templars.
It's massive. And dense cover is really good against orcs at the moment.
It is.
And you can't get it on your vehicles. You can't.
So dense cover is a weird one, actually. I kind of want to... I don't have an answer for this. I kind of want to look into it a little more. But I don't think you ever benefit from dense cover. Because, because vehicles don't benefit from cover. But you still take a negative if you shoot a vehicle through a forest. Because it's not a benefit, it's like a modifier on the enemy. So I actually kind of want to look that up a little bit more.
Yeah.
To see if not benefiting from cover blocks out forest. I know light and heavy cover is right out. Sorry. I wish you could keep it, but, if you want to be mini transhuman 5-up invuln.
Because there are things where, like a Megara ignores all the benefits of cover, but they're the one ignoring it, so they're ignoring dense.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're not able to benefit from cover affects dense, I would say that it's going to probably, if that comes up,
I think that would deserve to get a day one FAQ. It's just that I need to go check the verbiage on vehicles, honestly, to see if it's the same. Because, like, vehicles don't benefit from cover. That's why they don't get light cover, heavy cover. But they do...
It may say they don't benefit from light, but
it may say light, yeah. I don't know. I'll have to go reread it. So, for right now, I think the reasonable assumption is to assume they don't get forests either.
Yeah, there's another questionable rules thing with this where you can... We'll get to it when we get to the chance.
Yeah, of course.
But there's a possibility that you might be able to give out the 5-up invul and baby transhuman with a chant without getting the negative.
I like baby transhuman a lot.
Baby transhuman is not bad. I would rather have cover on like Van Vets and Terminators for sure. Terminators ignoring AP2 when they're in light cover is really nice.
Well, I mean, if you at that point, light cover doesn't matter if you ignore AP2.
No, I'm saying because they're in light cover, they ignore AP2.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, and then
true.
you take the -1 damage thing on them.
Mm-hmm. See, the fact that there's multiple ways to ignore AP2 that we're talking about, it's a good sign.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm kind of mixed on this one. It's a very powerful defensive buff, but the more I think about not benefiting from cover, like that's a serious downside, so I have to think about it.
It is a serious downside.
Unfortunately, we are not Thousand Suns where you just get a 5 across the board, no downside. Gotta be a downside with it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Speaking of Thousand Suns,
speaking of them,
the next one is to both abhor the witch and destroy the witch.
You gotta do both.
You gotta do both. This is one that was previewed. Basically, you get a pregame move if your opponent has a Psyker. Not a pregame move, I'm sorry. You add 3 to your move characteristic in the first battle round. So going first or second, the first time you move, you add 3 inches to the move. And then you reroll wounds of 1 against whenever you make a melee attack against Psychers. So a really nice, this is great against Psychers, just go a little faster turn 1. Generic Lieutenant Aura, especially since Templars are kind of HQ heavy. You may not always be able to afford to just have a Lieutenant in there.
Yeah, again, this one's like, there's not a huge downside to it.
Yeah.
So the downside is if you're within a Psyker, within 18 inches of a Psyker, you can't do actions. If you're up against Thousand Suns or Grey Knights, you're not looking to do actions because you're looking to take Stranglehold, Oath, and
then just take Abhor the Witch.
Abhor the Witch as your secondary. You don't have to do any actions.
You don't have to do the action secondaries. And even if you want to, it's fun to point out that, one, if your opponent's throwing Psychers at you, just go charge them. You get to, if an action's at the end of the movement phase, you can back out of 18 inches and then do the action. Also, since these things, the Vows and Passions apply to all of the units that have combat doctrines,
right? Then
they don't apply to servitors. So your servitors can still actions, and like half the Space Marine list I see anyways are just taking a servitor squad or 2 to be a little action unit. So your cheapest action unit isn't affected by this. I think this is honestly the best one. It's just you don't need to take it because if your opponent doesn't have Psychers.
Again, it functionally doesn't really have a downside.
Yeah.
Which means the fact that the upside is like not the strongest upside, but there's no downside to it. So
yeah, there's basically no downside here as far as I'm concerned. The last one is another one that was previewed. Accept any challenge no matter the odds. Basically, you add 1 to your attack all the time. It doesn't stack with Shock Assault.
Yeah.
But it does stack with one of the relics from the Space Marine Codex that has a 6-inch aura +1 attack that does not stack with Shock Assault. So you could turn that into an actual aura +1 attack, which is cool.
That is pretty cool.
And if you're in combat, you always get Assault Doctrine. So basically, it gives you Assault Doctrine turn 1 and 2 functionally, but it also gives you Tactical Doctrine on turn 3 because you don't feel the pressure to actually go into that.
You don't actually have to be in Assault.
Pretty cool.
Doctrine. It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not amazing.
Unless you take that relic, the combat buffs are
negligible.
Very negligible.
Yep.
I think you won't notice it in most games, unfortunately, when you take it.
Yeah.
And the downside is a real one. Now, the stacking with the relic, that is an interesting build you can do. I hadn't thought of that. But the downside's a serious one, and that is you cannot fall back with your whole army.
Yeah, this unit cannot fall back, period. So that's when
rough.
it comes up is a huge problem.
That's
it won't come up often because Black Templars are designed to be a close combat army. I think you only take this against... Because Black Templars can't fall back and charge, and they can't fall back and shoot. So not being able to fall back is not a huge deal, I think. It's because they don't have any fallback and do stuff.
It's plenty of times when like they're in combat with like one of your troop units on one guy left, or they're in combat with like a Van Vet squad that's got like 2 guys left, and you just want to fall back so you can blow them up, and you just can't. So and that's rough, buddy. Like that is a big downside.
I think you have to really look at the opponent's army to determine if this one's right. I actually would expect this is the one I take the least often.
Yeah, which is that interaction with that relic is such a cool interaction.
It is, but then the problem is that you have to pre-plan the relic into the list.
You do.
Yeah.
And not falling back, again,
Huge
problems
sometimes.
You can lose games off that easily.
Yeah, 5% of the time, this is the worst thing ever.
Like, you're like, can I just not have it anymore? Can I just not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, little bit of hot and cold on this one. As a Super Doctrine replacement, it doesn't feel as strong as as several of the other close combat doctrines. Like, you compare it to White Scar's pure buff, or Blood Angel's pure buff, or Space Wolf's pure buff, and it's not as raw powerful as any of those.
Yeah, and they
but
don't
also
come with downsides too.
They don't. They don't come with the downsides. But I at least like that you get flexible choices, and because sometimes you hit a game where like you play White Scars into Dreadnoughts, and you're like, wow, this literally no longer exists. And I like that if you hit a weird matchup, you can kind of tailor your doctrine to it, your vow. The raw power is not there.
The raw power is not there, and I think that the flexibility is also just. I don't think it's as strong.
Yeah.
Because you can pick between a wide array of fairly negligible buffs. I think that's what it is. You can pick between a buff you're not going to notice and another buff that you're not going to notice. The only one that you can really build around is that 5-up invuln, which is a very interesting way to run the army.
Yeah.
So I think what you do is you either plan around not taking one that is negligible, has a negligible downside, and just pretending you don't have it, or taking none, or you plan around the 5-up invuln, and you try and build your whole army around that.
That's what I think is the most likely thing to happen.
Honestly, I think most of the time, if you're not planning around that 5-up invuln, I think you don't take any vow. Unless you're running up against Psychers. You're running up against Psychers,
go slap it in. Absolutely. Slap it in. Very minimal downside there. Yeah. We do have a $2 super chat from Clown Mode. Thank you so much for that. And his mention was, by that logic, would you not benefit from Obscure? You do definitely benefit from Obscure, because
that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
No, you definitely do, because there's a point in the I need to go back and reread. I haven't looked at the core book in a couple months, I'll admit. But the benefits of cover is defined as because when you ignore the benefits of cover, you ignore heavy cover, light cover, dense cover, and like that part is specifically defined as like that's what the benefit of cover is. But then there's a weird thing with vehicles and benefiting from dense cover. Yeah, I honestly don't remember it. I just remember that the consensus at the end was yes, vehicles do get the -1 to hit from forests. I don't remember how we got to that point.
Yeah, it's not.
I need to go read up on that.
It's not the biggest problem either way. I think it's nice if you can get dense cover on your dreadnoughts. I guess
it would be nice.
I certainly wouldn't mind. There's no reason that dreadnoughts just get better. They just get better.
Absolutely. At that point, you just take a dread list.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Let's see here. Had a couple comments in the chat, mostly talking about cover. That's one that I would like to see addressed in a day one FAQ, what that means. And honestly, though, I'm going to go reread things probably after this video just to see if there's an obvious answer in the rulebook. But I've heard this pop up in a couple different like Discords and think tanks. So now I'm like, do they benefit? It would be nice.
We'll see. Dense cover would be nice. It's not generally the biggest impact of the game. People don't generally fill the boards with dense cover. But it's nice against orcs. When you see a dense cover, you move to the dense cover, and then if it works, it works.
And obviously you often you often don't want to fall back if you take oath moments, but having the choice and losing a single point for it when you can sometimes make that up and get a 15 anyways, versus not having a choice and your opponent actively using that against you. Like if your opponent decides that they're going to charge, like if you use a Land Speeder Storm as like a screening unit, I see no reason not to charge like 9 orc buggies into it and make sure that only 3 of them swing. And then like, ooh, I didn't kill it. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess in my turn, all 9 are going to swing on it, and now they're going to be free and shooting again.
Yeah,
and that's where you get into problems.
The no fallback one is very dangerous. I think the benefit is negligible, and you can straight up lose the game off
I struggle to imagine an opponent where I actively want to take that.
Yeah, you tell your opponent, I cannot fall back.
Because the only ones I can...
And then their eyes just...
Because the problem is like the only time I would want that is I think if I'm going up against like an only like melee army, but also an only melee army where they're worse at melee than I am, and like What are we talking about? Gene Store Cult?
I don't even know, because even a melee army that's worse at melee than you can still hide in melee with you if they pick the right unit.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's an all-shooting army, then I probably want the 5-up Infiltrated Transhuman.
Yeah. I don't see taking that.
Maybe an all-shooting army that never ignores cover and is only AP1. Right? That's my scenario.
I don't know.
I got nothing.
I think stacking with the Relic is pretty hot, but having your chapter trait, even if you replace that chapter trait with you get one character as a +1 attack aura, which is functionally what you're doing, and then you also the downside of you can't fall back. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. No, that's terrifying.
Right on. Well, let's move on from those vows. I really like the mechanic execution middling.
Yeah, they could have.
I like flexibility, but yeah, it doesn't feel as. It feels a little safe.
It's very safe, and that's my take on a lot of the book in general. Is the rules design is incredibly safe. They've sanded off a lot of the rough edges that could have possibly been broken. Yeah. And then
I appreciate from a long-term perspective, but when you look around at something else in the game right now, it's hard to be like, wait a minute, why is this the one?
Yeah. But yeah, Vows. None of them are as good as I think any of the other super doctrines. No. There's maybe like Iron or Imperial Fists or something.
It's better than Ultramarines. I would much rather have this in the Ultramarine.
It's better than Ultramarines.
Yeah. It's not as good as the other, but when you look at the melee chapters, which is White Scar, Blood Angel,
they have +1 attack blank across the board as long as you charge
+1 damage or exploding sixes.
Or +1 damage or exploding sixes. I would
choose any of those three over this.
Yeah. And all of these options are worse than those, and they come with downsides as well.
They do. The big thing is that, I think, and we'll, after we've, done a little review of everything, I think that my take on this is that Templars are not a melee army.
I think you're right. I think you
and
are
that's
correct
weird
about that. Yeah.
But
I don't really see a way that
I don't think you build it to be a melee army.
I think you can't.
Yeah. I think you can. But...
you can, but you're building a 6-inch move melee army, which doesn't really work.
Not what you want to do. So let's just cover a couple of the kind of stratagems that I thought were most impactful. We're definitely not going to read every single one out loud, I promise. But starting off, of course, with the Devout Push.
Yeah.
This one was previewed, but just to confirm with everyone else, it is still at the start of the fight phase. Yep. It is now core or character instead of infantry biker.
Infantry biker, yeah.
So you can't do it on Centurions or ATVs, but you can do it on characters now.
And Dreadnoughts.
And Dreadnoughts. You can do it on Dreadnoughts. So I think that's fine, because I didn't really take a lot of ATVs or Centurions.
I'm very happy with what they did with Devout Push compared to the other.
Yeah, you can now, if you're not within engagement range, you make a normal move of 3 inches with that unit, and that's then closer to the closest enemy unit or the closest objective marker.
Yeah, and you get to pick. It's not closest enemy unit or objective marker. It's when you do this, you decide, I want to move closer to the closest enemy unit, or you go, I want to move closer to the closest objective marker.
Which is awesome.
Gives you great flexibility.
Yeah. It's a different kind of jank than before. And it's still, you still have, if you're in engagement range, you just make a pylon move.
Yep. Which means if your units are strung out, you can still, it's harder to just tag
and
them
that
on
can
and
still
then
be 6 inches because it's a pylon move.
It can. I don't know if you take that litany anymore, but you
I think 3 inches is enough if you're already in combat.
I think 3 inches is enough.
I really like this, that they kept a lot of the once you're in combat jank is all still there.
Yes. And I really like the flexibility of this Devout Push. Obviously, I was assuming that the old Devout Push was going to go away, and I thought they were going to just take a bat to its knees and just
remove
cripple it.
I thought they were going to remove it.
Or make it, if you're in, just the second part, if you're in engage range, pile in, which is what I thought it was going to be. And they left it way more intact. The original one was one of the best strats in the game. It was broken. It ignored basically all the rules of 40k. You could do almost anything you wanted.
Devout Push is still a very good strat. I expect to use a couple times a game. If it's just in your opponent's fight phase, you want to move up, get on an objective. Great. I am now on an objective that I wasn't on before. Yep. You can use that to get from behind a wall to on an objective. Get a character closer. Get the Rites of War guy moving around. Get closer so you can charge something later. It's basically just plus 3 inches to your move if you use it in that way. Or you can use it as like the combat shenanigans where we talk about in the war room all the time all the different tricks you can do with pylon moves. One of my favorites is multi-charging 2 different units. Yeah. And then using the pylon move at the beginning of the fight phase to immediately get out of combat with one so they can't interrupt.
Yeah, it's because you still declared the second one to target charge. You pile
when I choose to fight, I'll pile in and get them, but I'll wait till then.
This is also fire and fade, basically. It's also just 3 inches, but still fire and fade.
Yeah, if you set it up right, that's all you need.
Yeah, and you can also get back in a vehicle because it's a normal move.
Yep.
If somebody says, "Oh, you have to end closer," and now you're off the board, so it doesn't count, you have to end your normal move closer, and then once you've ended your normal move, you're allowed to.
Yeah, it's
embark.
exactly the same as Fire and Fade.
Yeah,
which is
so
awesome.
You are able to fire and fade back into a vehicle if you want. So I personally like that with a squad of Hellblasters, like 6 Hellblasters and an Impulsor. Yeah. You go 14, you get out 3. You're going to go 6 away. Then you shoot with them, and then you devout push 3 inches, so you're within 3 inches of the vehicle. You re-embark back in, hard to avoid. Yeah. It's kind of like your Dev Rhino.
A little bit. It's a little cheeky, yeah. I like devout push still. Couple other strats.
Yeah,
let's see.
Big fan.
So
big fan
2 CP for the Emperor's Honor, where you pick one Black Templar's character and one enemy character until the end of the phase. Each time that enemy character selects to fight, if that Black Templar's character is within engagement range, they have to attack that guy.
Yeah, it is Angel Sacrifice, but much more narrow. Which is fine. Angel Sacrifice is the best stratagem in Blood Angels.
Probably true, yeah.
I don't have a problem with just getting a worse Angel Sacrifice on top of the other things that we do as a codex. Yeah. I don't think we need a better stratagem than Blood Angels. I will say we have ones that are better than Angel Sacrifice, and then this one's just a more narrow Angel Sacrifice, and it's fine. Angel Sacrifice 1 CP, and it's on any enemy unit in engaged range of a character.
Yeah, no problem with that.
But this is great against Knights. It's great against Morty. It's great against Maggie. It's really good. No problems with it.
Yeah. So next one, 2 CP, is Pick a Chaplain. 1 litany that it recites this phase is automatically inspiring, and that unit can recite 1 additional litany. This is so much better than the one in the Spaceman Codex. Because the Spaceman Codex is at the beginning of a phase, not your command phase, so you can't have recited any litanies. So if you have a Master of Sanctity who recites 2, and you use this on him, he now only recites 1 and it auto passes. This is same 2 CP.
Same 2 CP.
The one he was going to auto passes. He can still recite a normal second one, and now he can recite a third one, or if he only recited 1, he can now recite a second one.
Yeah, so you basically get to recite Litany of Hate on top of the one that you want to auto pass, which is almost certainly going to be 5 with Feel No Pain. Yep. This is phenomenal. And if you need to do it out of sequence, so you need to get to a unit that is away from you, like you need to do it during your shooting phase, you still have access to the generic Space Marine one.
Love this strat. Black Templars getting the best chaplains. A-okay for me.
100%.
They have the normal get a second Warlord trait. They have the normal put a relic on a sergeant / sword bearer or sword brother. They have a new pre-game upgrade.
This
type
one
thing,
is cool.
Which makes sense because they lose the generic successor chapter stratagem.
Because we don't have successor chapters.
No, they don't.
So.
They are a successor chapter.
That's right.
Champion of the Feast, 1 CP, pick a sergeant or sword brother, and add 1 to that model's attacks, wounds, and weapon skill.
You can only use it once.
Only use it once.
Which is unfortunate because I would use it multiple times.
Yeah, not once a game. You can only use it once. So you have to have a record of all your games because you can never use it.
You can only use it once.
You can only use it once.
It's in your... it's when you write your list.
Battle. So, well. All right, don't change your list. Don't change your list.
Don't change your list. Yeah, so this is very good. You can make some brutal sergeants. Yeah. You can give them the sword, Blade of Judgment, is it? I forget what it's called. It's the +3/-3 3 damage relic on a power sword. You can make their weapon skill 2+, boost their attacks and wounds by 1. You can give them chapter the relic bearers relics. Yeah,
you can do some really tanky stuff here.
Really tanky.
Just +1 wound. A 4-wound Terminator, a 5-wound Centurion, a 3-wound Primaris, dude, a 4-wound Blade Guard. That part alone is good. The fact that it's also just +1 attack and weapon skill is great. Consider that an extra wound guy can make a difference in breakpoints.
You fire they buggies that are firing missiles at your Blade Guard, and 2 go through. That kills 1 guy, not 2.
Yeah, and of course, if you have an apothecary, that dude is gonna
come back. Yeah, you can make a sergeant that is tanky, and he hits hard with the relic sword, and then if he goes down, he comes back to life.
Huge fan of this. Never die. Huge fan of this. I think I'm going to use this stratagem fairly frequently.
That one's in my list, 100%. No questions asked. Love it. I would use it more often if I could, but you can only use it once.
They keep it for the Witch, 1 CP, 4 Deny the Witch. That one's basically the same. Tenacious Assault used to be a 2 CP on a 2+, you trap an infantry in combat. Now it's 1 CP, but a 4+, and doesn't work on fly.
Yep, and it's infantry or beast, which doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm sure it'll come up occasionally.
I'll think of a beast that matters.
I'll remember that it works on beast. I'll remember that.
I don't think it did before, but it does now, which is fine.
Yeah. On a 4+, they can't fall back.
This is a less of a game plan and more of a this is cool and it works.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
But it's still a good 1 CP 4+ is just keep you there. Like that can swing the game.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. The 2 CP lock-in on a 2+ was a feel-bad moment for either player.
Yeah.
Either you roll 1 or you don't,
yeah.
and they can't do anything.
Sure.
This is still kind of a feels-bad moment, but less feels-bad because it's only 1 CP.
Yeah.
And I think you just throw it out there when you're like, man, it would sure be like nice if this unit randomly didn't fall back. Big money, no whammies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem with it.
Yep.
This is the good one.
This is another great one.
This is the really
1
really
CP
solid
strength
one.
of conviction in your command phase. You remember when Mordred Lady had this exact same thing, but in the movement phase?
Yeah.
This is the better version because it's before you score primary.
You remember when Order of Mordred Lady had one that didn't do anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Select 1 Black Templar's core unit from your army, not infantry, just core.
Just core, which is
And
great.
until the start of your next command phase, that unit has the objective secured ability.
This
Boom.
is the best stratagem in the book. This one is a build around.
It's really good.
It is incredibly strong.
You still take rights of war, but that
You
is
still do. You
really
still take
good.
rights for sure, 100%.
That makes denying plays really good.
Yep. You can. You take a single bike, single attack bike.
Yeah. Boom.
And
Obsec.
them down the
Goes.
board, and they get obsec. They take objectives.
Awesome.
You take a bike squad. You give them obsec. You string them out onto objectives. You take a dreadnought that's going on a little dreadnought adventure, and you give them obsec, and you go take an objective.
Fantastic.
You take eliminators. They double move. They advance. They can shoot their sergeant. They can move again. You give them obsec. You take objectives. This is a build around. I really like it.
Another 1 CP. This is the definition of a build around. Is that you can, if you normal move a Land Raider Crusader, you can disembark from it, but those units cannot then move. That's adorable. That is very Black Templars.
Yeah.
I went and reread the Land Raider Crusader just to make sure.
Did you find a single thing that it does?
Yes. It's the stratagem.
That's it?
That's the single
Does
thing.
it? I thought it had guns.
I thought so too, but read
it actually doesn't.
You can pay 20 points to give it 1 multi-multi.
That is hot.
That's the only guy
That's
that does.
hot. Yeah. I
it's-
wouldn't do that. The thing is, you're spending 1 CP, and you're spending like literally 600 points. The best thing you can do is you can take a unit of Assault Centurions or 8 Terminators, and you can slam it into a Land Raider Crusader that for some reason costs like 260 points. And then you basically get 13-inch move because you move 10 with the Land Raider, and then you disembark 3. You can't move again. So you move 10, disembark 3, you get a 13-inch move once a game. And for that, you are spending 600 points.
Yes. Like, that's good, but it's not wildly good because, again, 13 inches of movement, whereas the Terminators themselves would have just moved 5 if they were in the same spot. Yeah. So now it's an 8 inches extra movement. And if you had spent the CP on Devout Push instead and they moved 8 inches, this is now a 5-inch extra movement for the cost of a Land Raider Crusader.
Yeah, and I'm not spending an extra.
No. If the Land Raider Crusader gets a little bit better, this could be a thing.
I think the Land Raider Crusader had to get a lot better for this.
Well, okay. Yes, I agree.
It would spontaneously have to grow a
the Land Raider Crusader is too much of a tax, and if it becomes not a tax or less of a tax, we can talk about this again.
Yeah.
But like, we need Land Raiders to go to like T9 Ballistic Skill 2, and I will have a real conversation.
190 points, and yeah.
I mean, that's kill rig levels. Come on.
Yeah. Fair enough. I will say I wish this didn't say Land Raider Crusader. I really do.
I wish it was Land Raider Crusader or Repulsor.
Or Repulsor, or I wish you could use some of the Forge World Land Raiders that actually shoot.
It's true. If it wasn't a Crusader,
it would
but
actually
it's Black
be decent.
Templars. Yeah,
it would actually be decent.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not so much.
Yeah.
It's a very fun pick, and what you can do is run the triple Land Raider Crusader, triple thing in Land Raider Crusader, and just try and jam it and get there, but you end up with an army that doesn't have any models in it.
Yep. Yeah. Lots of good stuff in there.
Sword Brethren get an additional hit on 6s. You probably won't take Sword Brethren, which is the problem. I wish this were kind of a generic stratagem.
1 CP means if you take them, this is a good strat, but since it's the only source of exploding 6, it's not amazing. But I think if you have Sword Brethren in the list already, you might use this. Heretic's Pyre is a 1 or 2 CP. Basically turns your flamers into blast.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of text, and you can ignore it, and it gives them blast.
Basically gives them blast.
It gives them blast.
And it's not actually blast if your opponent ignores blast, but it's the rules of blast. And it just turns your flamers. If you're aggressors, it costs 2 CP. If you're not aggressors, it costs 1. If you just have like a Crusader squad with like 2 flamers and a combi flamer, and you just go 1 CP, 18 shots.
It's not the worst. I don't think it's a build around.
No, it's not.
Which is a little unfortunate because I don't think flamers are at a great place in the meta right now.
It's weird because salamanders have 2 CP max shots regardless of unit size, And then for aggressors, this is 2 CP max when you shoot an 11 man.
And 11 or more kind of rare because people are scared of blasts anyway.
Yeah.
And if you fire into Skitarii, you can put out a lot of wounds, and then sure they're taking them on 2s, but they have to take like 50 on 2s and enjoy that.
Yeah. That wasn't every stratagem, but I think those were the most notable ones. Like there's one that buffs shotguns that I'm probably still not taking.
I mean, who am I taking?
There's your generic 2 CP when you've got a unit of or when you're in Assault Doctrine, every 6 to wound is extra AP. Because every single Space Marine chapter has that of their chosen doctrine. That's fine.
If you're in the Assault Doctrine anyway, I think your AP is fine. It's usually 3s
Unless
and 4s.
you're AP2 and on those chain swords and you're playing against an Ignore AP2 army. Then you really want to be AP3.
That's true. I mean, it's army-wide.
It's army-wide.
And so I'm sure that there is a time that it will come up.
I'm sure there's a time,
And you're going to feel like the biggest brain boy, and you're going to do it, and it's going to be
Absolutely. Litanies of the Devout.
These have some winners.
These are really good.
Yeah, these have some real winners.
Of the original 6, I think only 2 stayed the same.
And they were the 2
ones. They were the 2 best ones.
And they think they still are the 2 best ones.
They might be, but it's nice that everything got better around them.
Yeah, and so let's go through them. Yep. The +1 attack one.
Slightly better. It works when you get charged.
It's so much better feeling now. I'm very happy with how they improved this. It's just a quality of life upgrade. Before, it was core character. It still is. And it was +1 attack when you charged. Yep. Which sometimes was great. Helped you get over certain damage breakpoints. And it felt really good. But a lot of the time, if you weren't planning on charging with anyone that was near that chaplain, it just doesn't do anything. Because when you take a hit back, you don't get the +1 attack. Yep. Now it's basically like Shock Assault. And it stacks with Shock Assault. So it's just flat +1 attack on a unit, and that is so much better than +1 attack when you charge. It's 100%. A very, very nice feeling.
Yeah, we still have the Litany of Divine Protection, 5 of Feeling Pain, great, amazing.
Still the best chant in the game.
Core or character, so you can slap it on a Redemptor Dreadnought or a big Terminator brick. Now that there are better ways to auto pass litanies, there are more reliable ways to cast litanies. This feels awesome.
Yes, yeah, I'm deeply happy with this chant.
The Psalm of Remorseless Persecution is just pick a unit. Whenever they roll a 6, you inflict 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage.
In melee.
Yeah, in melee, a 6 to wound. Cool, it caps at 6, but this is still good. It takes a 5-man like Vanguard Veteran with Lightning Claws and makes them hit really a lot harder. I actually think that this one is going to make the cut in my Black Templar lists.
I think you're going to run into 3rd chant syndrome where you...
I think this is my 2nd chant.
Really? I think Fires of Devotion and Divine Protection are my 2.
Okay, but think about this. Fires of Devotion on a 5-man Vanvet squad is 5 extra attacks that still have to hit and wound, and they're damage 1.
Right.
And your opponent gets a save.
Right.
If those 5 attacks all get 5 hits, 5 wounds, and your opponent fails every save, literal perfect scenario. Wasn't that 5-man unit going to roll at least like 5 6s anyway?
Maybe not. I'd rather just have
rerolls. Like,
I'd rather have 5 extra attacks. I'd rather reroll to hit and reroll to wound and RAP3.
But like if we're going into like a generic Marine stat line, like a generic Primaris Intercessor, not even that good. Like 5 extra attacks is gonna net like 3 extra wins. Like you're gonna get 3 6s with Psalm of Remorseless Persecution. Minimum, and you might get 4, 5, 6.
Now, the nice part about Fires of Devotion is that you can put it on things that aren't just Van Vets. You can put it on Blade Guard, where they're damage 2.
Damage 2. That's what matters.
Thunderhammers. You can put it on a character. You can't put Remorseless Persecution on a character. I think it's my 3rd. It's your 2nd.
It might depend on...
Still very good.
Still very good.
And I think if you put this on a Van Vet squad where the Sergeant has 2 Lightning Claws and then the Bones of Mordred and then you Hammer of Wrath when you go in.
That's exactly where I'm going with
this. You can drop a ton of mortal wounds.
That's exactly where I'm going with this.
I don't hate it. I think it's a very good chant. I think the bar for chants to make your army is like here, and this is somewhere in this area.
There,
Even though it's phenomenal, I think the Black Templar bar for how good a chant needs to be to make a list is as high.
All right, next one up, Plea of Deliverance. This is very familiar looking. It looks like a Sister's chant.
Sure does.
You pick a core character within 6 inches. That unit immediately loses the effect of any psychic powers cast on it, and it cannot be affected by any psychic powers until your next command phase.
So this one's very situational, very strong when it comes into effect. Very good.
It's either here or here.
Now, the thing about Sisters is they have one good chant, War Hymn, and then they have a series of very situational chants. And so what you do with your chaplain equivalent is you take 1 for War Hymn, because you want War Hymn, and then you just pick off the smorgasbord of situational ones. And so this one makes the cut there, because you generally don't cast it, but you just have it in your back pocket. You're not going to use it.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't make the cut.
This one does not make the cut in Black Templars,
awesome.
who have more than one good chant.
And also, Black Templars have better psychic immunity because they have the 5 against mortals.
Yep.
So I agree that this doesn't make the cut, but also if the meta changes, let's say we get hit with an Admech / Orc / Drakari nerf, and suddenly Thousand Suns and Grey Knights become more prominent, we can talk about this again. But right now, I don't think it does.
It's a good tool to have in the toolbox.
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to how good the
rest of
the chants are that I don't think this makes the cut.
We already talked about the +1 attack. The next one is pretty simple. Pick a unit within 6 inches. That unit gains a new vow. So it gains the effects of that vow.
This is the question. Do you get the passion?
I say no because it specifically because vow and passion are broken out as different effects.
While this vow is in effect, you get both. I don't know. The
problem is it's while the vow is in effect, you get the vow and the passion. And the question is, does that mean vow the whole thing or vow the small part? Because they use vow twice.
They use vow twice in the wording. I'm guessing they meant it to be the whole thing, which is unfortunate. Because if you could just throw down mini transhuman and 5-up info on a unit for a chant, I feel like you take no vow and then you just throw that on whatever you want. Like if you have a gigantic unit of Primaris dudes running around the board, you throw a 5-up info on them and it's not bad. And then they can still benefit from cover.
Yeah.
Which is the downside. I think that's not what they intended, which means that the same thing we said about the vows is in effect.
Yep.
I feel like the vows are, they're not that great. They're certainly worse than any of the chants. It's like if you just take the effects of a vow and you put it in the chant, it's the worst one out of the bunch. So I think you take the amazing chants we have and not that one.
Yeah. Lots of activity in the chat. We're probably going to come back and go through a lot of these questions right at the end, so please bear with us. Right now we're going to just try to power through the rest of this book here while we kind of give our takes on it. I agree. I don't think this one makes the cut regardless of whether or not the downside comes in. But you could think about it a little more if the downside doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, again, the Black Templar chants are so good that it is pushing a lot of these other ones down.
Yes. The last one is Oath of Glory. This is basically a priest buff, similar to the Mantra of Strength. So the priest who chants this gets fight first. They get Tesla in close combat, essentially. An unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 2 additional hits, so 3 total.
3 total,
and you get +1 strength.
I think this one is better than Mantra of Strength generally. It's close.
I think so.
I do want to make a chaplain that is built around this and some relics and some warlord traits to make a beast. Because you can make a bike chaplain that is really, really tough and hits really hard. So I do want to go that route. Take 115 point characters. I think you take Grimaldus on top of it.
Yep.
So that chant is still very good because you can auto pass that.
And he can also be your Litany of Hate guy if you need him.
And he can still do Litany of Hate. And he hits very hard. What you do with the chaplain is when you do that, you also have Litany of Fate, or you throw Chapter Master on him, and then you reroll everything that isn't a 6, and you can end up with like 7, 8 attacks, where you reroll everything that isn't a 6, and every 6 to hit is 3 hits, and you can make him Strength 8. So he's Strength 8, AP 2 damage with like a gorillion hits.
It's nasty. And there's
pretty good, and you can make him really tough.
Yeah, there's some other things coming up that'll be good on that as well.
He's not the most brutal combat character in terms of damage, but damage and resiliency.
And also, you know what? Strength 8 is a great break point where we're at.
I love that chaplain in Blood Angels, and I think this could be the second coming.
Yeah. So moving on to the Warlord traits. The chants, by the way, you can't mix and match. A chaplain has to know all from this or all from that.
Yeah.
And I think Grimaldus is now locked into the Litanies of the Devout.
He is locked into Litanies of the
Devout. But that is totally okay.
That is what I would have chosen anyway.
The Litanies of the Devout are really good, so I think I'm A-okay taking... I think one chaplain is literally automatic. There is a chaplain in your Black Templar list.
Yeah.
Is there a second one? Maybe. I think you can still do it. I think
I probably am going to start out with 2 chaplains.
Yeah.
At least Grimaldus and a Bonk chaplain, just a Bonklin, a Slaplin.
Yeah. That's okay for me.
And you can go with Grimaldus and a Bufflin. You have enough buffs to do that.
Sure do.
So it's a very exciting time.
Right. Next up, we've got the Warlord traits. The Warlord traits, I think, are actually not like amazing, but they're not bad.
Yeah, they're a lot more of a miss than the chants.
They're a lot more of a miss than the chants. Chants are amazing.
Chants are really good.
Warlord traits are fine, but at least with Space Marines, you do have the generic Space Marine Warlord traits to fall back on, so you're not missing out here.
Yeah, I mean, you still take what's
rights?
Rights. You still take rights. You still
probably take Selfless Healer.
You probably
certainly tempting.
Certainly tempting, and then there's some other ones.
Yeah, you kind of look at what else you're doing.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go through them.
Going through them real quick. The first one, Epitome of Piety, is you get an extra deny, and it's +1 to deny. This is Grimaldus' generic Warlord trait. That's fine. I don't care enough about that to waste a Warlord trait on it.
I certainly don't.
No. Paragon of Fury is the next one.
And also, if you want to take him as your Warlord, you have to not want to double up on another Warlord, because you can't double up on named characters.
Exactly. Yep.
So I think you're not going to see this.
I don't think you're going to see that much.
No.
Paragon of Fury is add one of the Warlord strength characteristic if he finishes a charge move, and then on a 5+, you do a mortal wound to every model in engagement range. So if you end your engagement range in range of 3 or 4 models, you roll 3 or 4 dice. Every 5+ is a mortal. That's gonna net 2 mortal wounds optimistically, and a +1 strength is like, yeah, like would I rather just be Sword of the Imperium so that I get +1 attack and also I get the reroll charges? Probably.
You already reroll charges in Black Templars.
That's a great point.
I think you would much rather have +1 attack over strength. If this had attack and did the mortal wound, because the mortal wound is kind of negligible, it's not reliable.
Yeah, it's very unreliable. Sometimes you're going to get 3 and you're going to be like, wow, these Eldar never saw it coming. And then you're going to get 0 like half the time.
Or you run into a character, don't do anything, +1 strength doesn't matter, and it's just like,
yeah. Master of Arms is sort of the fight phase. If your Warlord is within engagement range, they can fight first and they get +1 attack. I like +1 attack. Always fight first is not bad.
See,
this is like a different type of Sword of the Imperium, but it's Black Templars, so you get to add it.
I think you end up taking this, and I think the reason you end up taking this is not because you're happy about it. It's because you want Sword of the Imperium, but you have when you double up on Warlord traits, the second one has to be Black Templars, and +1 attack is what you want. Like you want to make a good.
Yeah.
I'm looking to make a buff chaplain that just runs around and slapping people, and
every
I really want +1 attack. So even though you're doubling up on fights first, because the chant and that, sometimes you won't have the chant up, so fights first still matters, and +1 attack is just very important in that. So I think you take it.
Yeah. Next one, Inspirational Fighter. It's a 6-inch aura of every 6 to wound in close combat is an additional AP, and it does stack the Assault Doctrine. So it's like Storm of Fire for melee, but it's better because it stacks its doctrines. But it's also only melee.
It's also only melee where you're usually only AP 3 and 4 in combat, so the extra AP doesn't matter. Now chainswords you can meme out like crazy.
Chainswords and Chainswords and Thunderhammers, this matters a lot. But if you're taking a bunch of like Blade Guard, it matters less. Yeah, it's honestly nice on Vanguard Veterans again, where a 6 to wound getting to AP 4 and Assault Doctrine. That does matter a lot. Same thing, Thunderhammers getting to AP 4 matters a lot. I really get sad when people make 6-up saves against my Thunderhammers. And I'm like, dang it, that was a whole dude. And so it's not bad. I don't know if it makes the cut, though.
That's kind of how I feel about a lot of these. Frontline Commander got gutted, unfortunately.
This used to be Helbrecht's trait.
This is still Helbrecht's. It adds +1 to advances and charge rolls, but instead of a 6-inch aura, it just gives it to him. And then each time a friendly Black Templar core unit declares a charge against an enemy unit that is within engagement range of the Warlord, add 1 to the charge roll. This is infinitely worse than how it used to be.
So much worse.
So much worse. This
hurts a lot, actually.
Yeah, this hurts quite a bit. Adam was not happy about this when we did the review.
I don't know why. Like, I didn't think it was a broken Warlord trait.
It was certainly isn't.
It was one that we were on the fence about including, and I'm no longer on the fence. I don't want this.
Yeah, I don't want this. Get it out of here. Yeah. I mean, the main thing is I think they don't want Black Templars to be a fast army, and they certainly succeeded. I think they took everything out of the book that makes it faster, and they just wanted to do that.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Oathkeeper is unchanged as a 6-inch heroic, which is fine. But
not going to make the cut.
Not going to make the cut.
So, I mean, I think the Warlord traits are also exceptionally safe. Some very minor character buffs. Deny the Witch thing you're not going to take.
Yeah. We'll talk about the named characters later. I think you can include named characters in Black Templars. I don't think any of them are the Warlord.
Certainly not.
And yeah, I think Master of Arms is the best one, and even that is like kind of just Sword of the Imperium.
You're just taking it because you can't take Sword of the Imperium as your second Warlord trait.
Exactly. Moving on to Relics. Relics, they still have quite a few good ones. The Crusaders Helm is basically unchanged and is previewed, which Seeker Bolts are laughable. You're never taking them, honestly.
Nope, never doing that. Aurelian Shroud changed to just infantry, but it's at the start of either player's command phase.
If you take the right units, this is amazing, but I don't think you're going to be.
I think it's only good on like the blobs of 20 Primaris Crusaders, and I don't think that playstyle is particularly good in 9th edition 40k. The walk 6 inches slowly.
Right now, it's definitely not what I want.
Yeah. But in that build, you can activate turn 1 if they go first. You give 4-up invuln to the whole unit, and then after that, they'll have a 5-up, and they'll have feel no pain. And
there's cool
and
things.
all of that. Like there are cool things for that.
Aurelian Shroud is definitely good enough to build around, but you have to build around it.
If the chant gives the benefits and not the downsides, you can maybe make a 20-man unit work.
Just 120-man that you just slap the 5-up invul on every turn.
You just slap the 5-up
and then if you go
5-up
second,
pain.
that's the turn and pop Shroud.
Exactly. If you go second, you have Shroud.
Done. Yeah, I like it. Ancient Breviary is exactly the same, and I love it. It's beautiful.
It's great.
Pick a chaplain. They roll an additional d6 and discard the lowest. Wonderful on a Master of Sanctity if you want to be giving out these buffs and you don't want Grimaldus. Or if you just want a normal chaplain, I don't think you take this because it's only 1 chant a turn. Yeah. But it's still a very good relic as a substitute.
Yeah, I think if you take Grimaldus and a regular chaplain, you don't take this because you're putting your best powers on Grimaldus.
Yeah.
So you don't care as much about the second one.
Yep, exactly. Skull of the Cacodominus is a very good anti-psychic relic, but it only works against Psychers. I still don't think the meta requires that right now.
No, you can make a guy who memes out and like -3 to psychic powers within 12 inches or something.
I just don't care enough to do that.
Who cares? Yeah.
The Sword of Judgment is the new relic power sword. It's awesome. It's +3 strength, AP 3, damage 3. That's pretty great, honestly.
You can put it on a sergeant that you just gave +1 attack and weapon skill 2+. It's I think the only relic you consider giving to a sergeant.
Definitely
but it
the
is
best
one that I want to put on a sergeant. So we're gonna do it.
Yeah, it's really good on it. Like, no way around that. Sword of Judgment's great. Just a giant sword that you hit people with, and I like broadswords.
Yep.
Moving beyond that,
I really wish Aquila Immortalis was a warlord trait.
Oh my god, yeah. Add one of the bear's toughness and attack characteristic.
Like that's a warlord. It's not even like a great warlord trait, but it's a very warlord trait relic. Like this relic has the effect that you would see in a warlord trait, and I would just kill for a warlord trait I want to take in this army.
Yeah, agree.
There's
a
relic as a relic though.
No, you're not.
No.
It's good, but it's not that good.
Yeah.
There's a relic power axe that's good. There's a relic combi flamer that's fine, and then there's Tannhauser's bones.
Boom, boom, boom. This is the good one.
Tannhauser bones. Marshal Tannhauser died, but apparently he was so angry about it that he is tough.
At the decisive battle of the Rutgers Reach Crusade.
Yeah. Hey, Rutgers. Nick isn't here for this.
Yeah. Each time an attack is allocated to the bearer, damage characteristics change to 1. This is how you make a Tanky Chaplain.
Yeah.
You make him...
You take like an 8-wound biker chaplain. With
7 wounds. You give him the Space Marine Warlord trait for +1 wound and 6 up feel no pain. And then you give him the Always Fights First +1 attack trait as the second one. And you give him one of the 2, either Mantra of Strength or the Tesla Litany.
And you give him Tannhauser's bones.
And you give him Tannhauser bones, and he goes off.
Tough.
I'm taking that guy tomorrow.
And he is a good thing to use that stratagem on to basically trap a character. Because if you go find yourself some Magnus or similar, and you're just like, you fight me, and Magnus is like, but I'm damage 3 and there's Blade Guard here. It's like, no, you fight me. Yeah, it's
I mean, you need an average of with transhuman, you need an average of 28 attacks. No, not 28, 32 attacks to put him out.
It's a lot. It's gonna take
32 hits to put him out because you wound on 4s, and then he's a 4-up invuln, and then they're all damage 1, and then 6 of feeling pain, so it's probably more than that. Yeah. So Magnus doesn't have a prayer of killing him.
Magnus literally cannot kill this chaplain in combat.
Yeah.
He's 7 attacks, damage 3, and he's 8 wounds.
All you need is an apothecary standing next to it, and that combat will last the entire game.
Yes. So I like that a lot.
Yes.
I love Tannhauser's bones. It's one of the best relics in here. I'm glad to see Ancient Breviary stayed the same, although I actually don't know if you need it as much.
Yeah, I think Crusader Helm and Ancient Breviary stayed the same, and you used to take those all the time, and now I think you just don't.
I don't think you take either of them, though. It's weird. But, book changed. Yeah. Then there's a whole new mechanic in here. Relic Bearers, which is specifically where, you just kind of, if you have a chaplain, you get to buy extra war gear for them. And these all range from 10 to 20 points. There's only one that's 20. It's mostly 10 and 15. And you don't need a chaplain per. You need a chaplain. And once you have a chaplain in your Black Templar army.
Yes, a thing that will happen.
You just get to buy these options. And they're points, not command points, which I'm so happy about.
Yes.
I wouldn't pay a CP for all these, but I would definitely pay 10 points for all these.
Yes. Yeah, and they're not that expensive. Most of them are 10 or 15. There's one that's 20.
A lot of these are auto takes.
I think that they're going to start out where you're like, I'm going to take 6 of these. And then you're actually going to take 1 or 2.
I think I can't see myself not taking
I keep building like 1 or 2 into the list, which I think is fine. I don't need to take 3 of them.
Man. All right.
For me to be excited about it. Let's start with the worst one.
Light of the Emperor's Grace is a +1 leadership for the unit and an aura of -1 to cast.
Next.
That's cool, but it's for 10 points. The thing is, that's not even bad. It's just that opportunity cost. There's better coming.
The actual thing, if you're going to take like a 20-man unit, you can give him +1 leadership. I think
like
you still
10 points.
I think you still take like one of the other ones.
That makes
if
him
you
lead
take a
10
20-man.
next to a chaplain. That's.
I don't know if it does actually.
It does, yeah, because you replace then multiply then add.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Sigismund Seal is the only 20-pointer. You have your unit. You pick one enemy unit. You reroll all hits and all wounds against that in close combat. Because it's combat only, I think this is too hard to deliver, even though it's good. But you have easy access to reroll hits.
Yeah, and I think if you're taking a big beefy unit, I think you take one of the 2 defensive ones we're going to go over.
Yep.
On the sergeant, and you give him +1 wound, and then with Feel No Pain, he's a big beef take.
Yeah.
I think you leave that one off your list, unfortunately.
I agree.
Holy Orb.
This feels auto take.
This felt auto take, and then I didn't end up taking it.
Dang. All right.
Yeah.
It's 10.
Again, I think I take 1 of these.
Okay. This one's 15 points.
Yeah, or maybe 2. Bones of Mordred's pretty good.
In your shooting phase, you select 1 enemy unit within 6 inches. You don't have to be eligible to shoot, by the way, so you can advance and do this. Roll a d6 on a 2+. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
You can be in combat and do this.
And also true. And regardless of whether or not you roll that 2+, that unit is not eligible to fight until after all eligible units from your army have done so. So I love that this is not on a 2+ they fight last, because that would make me cry.
Yeah, that would be very sad.
That would be very bad. But this is on a 2+ mortals and all the time fight last. It's just a once a game pick a unit, make it fight last for 15 points. That feels so good.
It is so good. I agree. You're not a combat army anymore.
Dang it.
I know.
Come on.
You're not a combat army anymore.
I didn't even...
If you have usually the way I've been building these lists, they end up with 1 combat unit that is durable. So you take one of the durability ones.
Yeah.
And then you just take a bunch of random units that benefit from various things, and then you shoot and you do nonsense. And I don't think you end up actually taking the fight last because you don't need it.
Yeah.
You just don't need it, and I don't think you have the spot for it either.
JBH, thank you so much for that $10 super chat.
Absolutely.
The question that came along with that is, would a Black Templar Dreadnought army be viable with the 5-up invuln? I think yes. I 100% think it is viable.
I think any army that can give Redemptors a 5-up invuln can run that as a viable army.
Yeah.
Period.
I don't yet know if it's the best way to run Black Templars, but I will tell you that my first take after I sat down with this book, took a break, ate a sandwich, came back to the book. I was like, all right, what does this army look like? The first take was Dreadnoughts for me. I don't know if that'll be the final answer, but I think it is viable.
Yeah, I think it is viable. As I said, I think any Redemptor, like triple Redemptor 5-up invuln army is viable.
It's great.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think I'm probably going to take triple
one.
Redemptors tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
Right on. The next...
But yeah, I don't think you end up with enough combat units in your army as Black Templars anymore. You need to fight last. That's the issue.
This is a fun one. The Crux Obsidian. Each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. So just pick a dude in the squad, and he's -1 damage. This could theoretically be a sergeant who got an extra wound.
Yep.
So you could have a 4-wound Terminator sergeant who is -1 damage.
And 5-up Feel No Pain.
And 5 Feel No Pain, and there's an apothecary.
And there's an apothecary, and he just gets rezzed over and over.
Good. Yeah,
that is really good. I agree.
Talk about a guy to tank squig buggies.
Yeah.
This dude's carrying a storm shield is like, not today.
Yeah, he just blocks. And eventually they'll kill him.
Yeah, but
if they throw their whole army into him.
But he'll be back. Apothecary's going to send it back up. Yeah, I love that. That I think is the best one.
Yeah.
But there are several other good ones coming. Yeah. The Fist of Balthus is it's a power fist. Its strength times 2, it'd be 3 damage 3, and does not come with a negative in it. Considering that the Fist of Balthus is only 10 points, but it replaces a power fist, so you think of that as 20 points, or like on a Terminator Sergeant that's not an assault squad, it's like 15, but you're not taking that anyway. It's basically on a Vanguard or an Intercessor equivalent.
It's basically like you can take a Fist for 8 on a Van Vet, you can take a Thunderhammer for 12, or you can take a Fist of Balthus for 18. And
I actually don't like this on Vanguards.
Really?
I like it on Assault Intercessors.
That is very cheeky.
Because they can fight twice.
They can. Adam is currently working on that. He put that in his list.
I believe it. It's a 10-point upgrade to a Power Fist to make it +1 damage, +1 AP, and not have a negative in build.
You can also just give it to an Intercessor Sergeant or something like that. The main problem is you pay for the Fist, then you pay for the Balthus. So it isn't 10 points. Yeah, it's 20. And that's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's the same amount as a Thunderhammer. Now, it's better than a Thunderhammer.
Yeah.
For sure.
It is,
but that's a lot. You're not taking a Thunderhammer.
Yeah.
So
Beast Pyre replaces a Flamer and is not good enough for us to talk about.
It's okay. All right.
Oh, come on. You were never paying an extra 10 points for Beast Pyre. Never.
You might. All right, hear me out.
Okay. All right, you know what? Let's do it.
All right, it's Blast, and it's AP 3. And it's Strength 6.
Okay.
You know the profile that lines up into. You know it.
Is it Blast?
It's a Skitarii Ranger.
Is it Blast?
It is Blast.
If you spend the CP?
No, it's just Blast.
Oh, it is Blast, and each time an attack is made with this weapon. Okay, so it's an auto-hit Blast. I didn't realize that was Blast. That is actually a little better.
And it's Strength 6, and it's AP 3.
So it replaces a Flamer, so it's essentially 15 points to be Strength 6, AP 3.
It's AP 2, and then Assault Doctrine 3.
Tact Doctrine.
Or Tact Doctrine, yeah. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but like, are you going to stay in Tact Doctrine for this?
I'm just saying, you know what profile that's good into.
I get it, but like, when you've
and it's only 10 points. And it's 10
But you also have to have a Flamer, and you have to have a squad who can take a Flamer,
so
which is literally
I'm not
Crusaders.
saying this is a build around, but if you have Flamers in your army, I think you do take the Beast Pyre. I think it's worth it to upgrade one. If you're taking a big blob of Primaris guys and you take a bunch of Pyro Blasters, I think you could do worse than upgrading one. I don't think this is like oh man, gotta get my Beast Pyre guy in the list. Certainly not.
Certainly not that.
But I think if you end up with some Flamers somehow in your army, which modern Space Marines don't.
Disagree.
I think you can certainly do worse than Beast Pyre.
Right. Well, there are two left that are a lot more exciting than Beast Pyre.
I agree.
The icon of Heinemann is you ignore AP 1 and 2 on this model. And that's great on someone with a 2-up save.
It is.
And it really is.
Blade Guard really like it.
Blade Guard do really like it now that you mention that.
They really do, don't they?
They really do.
They really do.
That's great on Blade Guard.
You can also take the Sergeant of the, if you take a 20-man blob, again, I don't think that playstyle is very good. But if you wanted to try and make it work, you could take a 20-man blob, make the Sergeant 3 wounds, give them all feel no pain, make him in cover, because I think... Sure. Let's say the Vow works that way, where you can you can pick them for the chant, give them the Vow, not the downside. They have a 5-up invul, and then they still get cover, so he's a 2-up armor save, and he ignores AP -1/-2, he's 3 wounds, he has 5-up feel no pain.
Better on Blade Guard.
Certainly better on Blade Guard.
On Blade Guard.
You can do that and make the Sergeant really, really, really annoying to kill out of that 20-man unit.
And that's 15 points, but it's still a really good 15 points.
It's very good. I think one of the two durability ones is an auto take period in Black Templars.
I feel like right now I'd rather have -1 damage, but also like I can totally justify both.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The last one is Bones of Mordred. Each time this model makes a melee attack, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target, in addition to any normal damage. It's only 10 points for that. That basically has to go on a Lightning Claw Sergeant, in my opinion.
Double Lightning Claw, so you are dropping the shield for a second Lightning Claw, so this is only functionally like 8 points on that guy.
Yeah.
Because you get some points back. So it's 158 points. You get the Sergeant with 2 Lightning Claws, Bones of Mordred. So he does a bunch of mortals.
It's great.
You throw the chant for mortals on him, you Hammer of Wrath, and you're like, here's 20 mortal wounds. Have fun.
So many mortals.
It is. It really is.
A Sergeant is 3 base, 4 with Shock Assault, 5 with a Lightning Claw, 6 with a second Lightning Claw, 7 if he has a Litany on him.
Yeah, I don't know if you're stacking both.
6 is just there.
Yeah, 6.
7 is like, if you happen to put that on, maybe. But
so I wouldn't spend a CP on this, but I would spend. I feel like spending 10 points is worth it. In 8, because
just even a 6 attack guy with full rerolls to wounds, just like every time you swing, here's an extra 2 mortal wounds. And I'm A-okay with that.
Yeah.
10 points?
For 10 points, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's great. I'm okay with it.
I don't think it's like broken or anything.
It's not broken, definitely not.
But I think it's okay.
Yeah, so I love this. Relic Bears is amazing.
Yeah, Relic Bears is very good.
Whereas Chaplain Litanies were amazing. Warlord Traits were highly uninspiring. Relics were pretty good. Relic Bears is great.
Yeah, Relics were fine. There were a couple that were in there that were alright.
You only need a couple that are good.
Tannhauser's is chef's kiss.
There's a couple good ones.
This is very good. As you said, Warlord Traits were very underwhelming. Very miss. Yeah. Unfortunately, you basically don't have any.
Yep. Sadly.
Yeah, the chants were good.
Yeah. And then after that, we basically just have the chapter approved rules. So these are the mission secondaries. There are 3 from the bottom of my heart. These are
god awful.
These are god awful.
They're very bad.
2 of them are downright awful. One of them is like a side grade.
The problem is the one that's a side grade
Is in the categories of.
is in the same categories of the moment and is significantly worse than at the moment.
Yeah.
Like by a lot.
So
And it's a side grade to grind them down where you only get it in combat. So, and you're not fast army anymore, so you're not getting it turns 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So better big money, no whammies, turns 3, 4, and 5.
So bathe your blade in the blood of the foe is you pick one of your characters and issue a challenge, and your opponent picks their least valuable character, puts it in the corner of the board, and gives you a 0 on a secondary.
Yes.
It actually is in the script. It says your
That's
opponent picks a Hospitaller and shoves her in a Rhino in reserves, and you get 0 points.
There
is another clause in here where you can get 5, 10, or 15 points depending on how you kill that Hospitaller and Rhino, but no one is accepting with their Warlord and sending them in the middle for a glorious duel, winner take all.
Are you sure?
You know what? Yes, I am.
Thursday, do you wanna make this happen?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick...
Morven Vol, Helbrecht?
No, I'm gonna pick a Dialogus.
Wow, you're a coward. Morven Vol is a coward.
I don't care.
Yeah, no, this is horrible.
This is
so bad. I can't engineer a scenario in my head where you get more than 5. And most of the time, 90%
10 is very achievable if your opponent only has 2 characters. Think of the Grey Knight list where your opponent is like, I'm going to take as few characters as possible.
They have 4 in that list.
Well, no, what if they cut the Tech Marines and the Lieutenants and they only had Dread Knights? And
well, then all you need to do is slam your Warlord into a Dread Knight and try and
about,
big money, no whammies it.
Okay, what about an Orc list where literally the Speed Boss is the only character in the army?
The Speed Boss? The character that moves 5 times faster than your whole army combined? That guy, you're going to pin him down in combat with your Warlord and cut his head off? That guy?
You can get 10 points if you don't use your Warlord.
Wow, that sounds really good.
Yeah, it is rough, pumpkins.
Yeah, this one's really, really bad. Never take this.
The second one is Battlefield Supremacy. Allow not the worship of unclean idols. Score 4 victory points at the end of the battle round if you control 1 or more objective markers that were controlled by your opponent at the start of the battle round, and a Black Templar's chaplain from your army is within range of that objective marker. This is
also very bad.
This is real.
When I first started reading this, and I told this to Adam on the podcast, when I first started reading this secondary, I stopped reading before I got to the part where you needed a chaplain because I had already given up on the secondary. And then when I went through the second time with Adam, I was like, oh my god, you also need to have a chaplain on there? The main reason this is bad is it conflicts with Stranglehold and Engage on all fronts, the 2 best ones in that category.
You don't have...
And
you don't have enough chaplains.
You need to throw away a chaplain to get 4 points, and you need to take an objective away from them, which is not always possible every turn.
Yeah, and like, what if you run out of chaplains? You just get a
hot 4 on this? Yeah. No, this is garbage. Unfortunately,
this is rough.
If they made it so that there wasn't that rider on the chaplain, like you had to take the chaplain, I would still not consider taking this.
I would look at it in like a center mission, maybe. I don't know, man.
I still wouldn't. I would just take Stranglehold. You can take Stranglehold instead of this. You're not taking this over Stranglehold.
Yeah. Carry out your vows.
There's so much text to this one.
So much text.
It is grind them down where you have to kill stuff in combat and they have to kill stuff, period.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly bad. You're not going to
It's not incredibly bad.
You're not going to be getting it turns
4
1 and
points.
2. It's 4 points.
You get it turn 2.
Sure.
You shouldn't, though.
You shouldn't. Especially because you're only using combat, and your opponent gets to use combat and shooting, so you're probably not evening that gap up.
Yeah.
Which means if you get a 4 on this, this is kind of impressive.
Just take Oath of Moment.
Just take Oath of Moment. Oath of Moment is very, very
I'm
good.
already done with this.
This one is very, very
These secondaries are... just take Oath of Moment.
Just take Oath.
I'm trying to think of a scenario where like you want to take another Space Marine secondary, so you don't take Oath, but none of these Space Marine secondaries besides Oath are good enough to justify, so we just move on to our lives.
Yeah.
No, this isn't it.
It's unfortunate. If you could take, let's say they let you take all 3, I'd be surprised if you got them higher than a 15 on all 3 combined.
Yeah. It's rough skis. So yeah, there are data sheets. We're not going to read them all line by line. Suffice to say, Helbrecht got a major facelift. He only went up 5 points, and he is a boss.
I loved him before the update.
Helbrecht is so good.
His stat line and everything got cranked to 11, and he got a 5-point increase.
When you consider that Chapter Master is a 40-point upgrade, Helbrecht at 160 points, aka look at Helbrecht as 120 points before you add Chapter Master. Helbrecht is a boss.
Yes, Helbrecht can just manhandle some fools.
He's either 7 attacks at Strength 8, AP 3, Damage 3, pending Assault Doctrine, maybe AP 4, or
you can make him 8 attacks too if you give him the chance.
Sure, or he's 14 attacks at Strength 6, AP 3, Damage 1, Again, maybe AP4.
AP4.
And Assault Doctrine, like,
He has 14 attacks. He can make himself reroll to hit.
He's also 8 wounds
and he's
in
strength 6. Yeah. He can have up to 16 attacks at strength 6 AP4, 1 damage.
Yep.
And he can reroll the hit.
Helbrecht is great. Helbrecht is great. I love Helbrecht. Helbrecht feels... I don't know if he's an auto-include because he doesn't contribute to every build type, but just data sheet points, great value.
I'm going beyond that. I am saying my lists are 1,840 points now.
Okay, but you only have 2 HQ slots in the battalion?
That's right.
All right, Helbrecht is in. Fine with that.
Helbrecht is an auto-include.
Grimaldus.
In my book.
Grimaldus changed a lot.
One thing about Helbrecht.
Yes. Still has the +1 strength aura?
He is not as fast as he used to be. You used to be able to just yeet him across the board at your opponent's army and just push 6 inches, advance and charge, advance +1, charge +1, reroll both. And he used to go very, very far in charge when you needed him to. He no longer does that.
Yeah, because you lost all the other speed elements that Black Templars had. Because Devout pushes no longer 6 inches on the move, and then it you no longer advance in charge, you no longer +1 advance.
And the no longer advance in charge is a big deal.
It's a thing. So, Chaplain Grimaldus, he went up a lot, but he also includes his servitors as 1 unit now. So he's 140 now.
Yes.
He's a unit of 4. Chaplain Grimaldus and his 3 Cenobite servitors, who are now all characters, give up a 12 on Assassinate. But you know what? If your opponent takes Assassinate and you manage to keep Grimaldus alive, then they get like a 3. So pick your poison, guys. Like,
if they, I think you still take him. I think it's just. I think GW needs to release some kind of FAQ on Assassinate where this nonsense doesn't just give up 12 points because a servitor fell over.
But also, he's a giant unit for the purpose of bodyguard.
This man massive. He puts Celestine to shame.
This man stretches out.
This man goes... Each of his models is like 1.5 inches plus 2 inches coherency. So
wildly
he stretches out like 12 inches.
Yeah. So he lost his exploding 6s. Aura.
Yeah.
The servitors lost their 4 feeling pain against mortal aura. But he replaced that with essentially 3 abilities as long as the servitors are alive, one per servitor. And then, of course, you got a new ability where once he dies on a 4+, he stands up with 3 wounds remaining.
Which is nice because then you can heal him back up to 5. With
Which is great. So the 3 things that he gains are, and he still does his deny. He has a banner, so the guy that carries a banner is a 6-inch aura of core and characters roll D3+3 when they advance instead of D6. That is speedy.
That is fast.
If you could still advance and charge, this would be amazing.
Unfortunately, you can kind of advance and not do anything. Those are the options.
Those
up
are
to you.
options.
You can stand still and move 6. Like you can walk 6 inches, or you can advance almost automatic because you can still reroll it with the Black Templar trait.
It's still
you
good
can go like 12
control.
inches. It's good board control, but you can't.
It's not as good as if you
do anything.
Yeah, I know. Skipping the middle one because it's my favorite. The next one, the third one is when you recite a litany, you add 1. Grimaldus is still a chaplain. He still is. He knows 2 chants.
He's now Master of Sanctity.
He's now a Master of Sanctity, so he gained that keyword, so he precludes another Master of Sanctity. But it is really nice that you get to pass on 2s at least. So Grimaldus is a great buff character who doesn't eat up your CPs. And I think Grimaldus is going to be in most of my lists.
I think Grimaldus is going to be in most of my lists as well.
It's very different, but I still like it.
I wanted to joke about my list being 1,700 points with 2 HQ slots taken up. I don't think he's quite as auto-include as Helbrecht is.
But he's still really good.
I think he's still very, very good. I think if he didn't have +1 to his roll, actually, he'd still be good. You take the 2 damaging powers on him, and then you take 5 up Feel No Pain on a guy with Breviary, and
just roll it.
You're fine.
So the best thing...
But he does have it, so...
Yeah, is he's one of these servitors is 6-inch aura of 6 up Feel No Pain for core or character. And this is not infantry or biker, it's just core.
So it's Dreadnought?
So
is what you're telling me?
It works on Redemptors, and that is all that I want.
I know, buddy.
You get good defensive buffs off of this.
You
and
do
he's a good chaplain.
buffs.
And he's better in combat, but he's still not great.
You're not shoving him in
You're not shoving him in there.
He still has a plasma pistol, God love him.
Yes, he does.
And he can stand up once a game, which is pretty...
Which is good if you roll a 1 on a plasma pistol.
Can you revive the servitors with an apothecary? Yep. That is adorable.
I mean, it takes... That's what you're healing that turn. But if a Redemptor explodes and kills one, you better do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
The nice... Yeah, no, that's like a whole thing.
Oh, no, that's...
You got a 5 up against mortals.
He's going to be within 6 inches of all the Redemptors.
He is.
Oh, mama.
He really is.
Oh, that is a problem.
Put the mortals on Grimaldus first, and then heal Grimaldus.
You can. If he takes any attacks at that point, then the game basically breaks. Like, the game stops functioning because you must allocate an attack to a wounded model, but you also must allocate an attack to a Cenobite servitor.
Random mortal wounds that aren't an attack,
if this was a video... I mean, you can allocate mortal wounds to Grimaldus. It's not an attack. You can do that. But if you're still... If Grimaldus is still wounded, and
and Grimaldus dies, and the servitors
the servitors die. But if he's wounded, and there are servitors left, and he takes an attack in melee or shooting... If it were a video game, it would crash a desktop. Yeah, because it stops functioning. Like, who takes the wounds? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Either way, Grimaldus really good, Helbrecht really good. Two great characters. Emperor's Champion is a 100-point dude who walks around with a damage 3 sword. And that's great, but that is what he is.
Yeah, I think if his buffs were not key... He rerolls hits and wounds and fights first against characters, specifically.
Yep.
If all of his buffs were not keyed against characters, I still probably wouldn't end up taking him.
I don't
and that's
care about
the problem.
I just don't care about Emperor's Champion.
As I said, like, if he just natively rerolled hits and wounds and fought first, I still probably wouldn't take him for 100, but he only does that against characters.
Yep.
So...
Yeah. We have Primaris Crusader Squads now. Dope models. It's exactly what it looks like. It is keyed to the box set, so it's 5 initiates who are totally not intercessors.
Right.
1 sword brother and 4 Primaris neophytes, which are a Primaris scout. Basically, it's a 4-up armor intercessor with a regular bolt gun or a chainsword. All of that is cool, and they're like the same cost as what you'd expect. You can take a unit of 10 to 20 instead of 5 to 10. Caps at 8 scouty dudes and 12 power armor dudes is basically what it looks like. You get to choose Astartes shotguns or auto bolt rifles or bolt carbine. Like,
you can make them shoot 50 bolt shots, which is fine. You can make them have 80 close combat attacks with chain swords, which is, again, fine.
They're not intercessors, so you can't shoot them twice.
You can't shoot them twice. They're not assault intercessors. You can't fight with them twice. They only move 6 inches a turn. They can't advance and charge, so they're not fast. So you're not going to get combat very quick.
You can make a big unit and transhuman it. I just don't think that's worth that much.
I think this playstyle is not a playstyle that wins games in 9th edition 40k.
No, especially not the way the meta is right now. It does not. It feels very hostile to that type of list.
Yes. So I think AdMech are just going to pick it up anyway, and then you're out 360 points for 1 brick of 20, and you are going to be very sad. And you're going to spend an entire tournament not getting into combat with them, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think Crusader Squads are fine. It's just the fact that it's a min 10 makes it a very expensive troop choice, and right now Marine troops are just not what you want to invest in. So for me, it's a loss. Crusader Squads got their points fixed, so they now cost the same as Tax Marine.
They don't cost 15 for no reason.
Means that's a loss for me. I don't think you take Crusader Squads anymore.
I think neither of these troop options are takeable.
Both misses. Incursors and Intercessors, because I want 5-man squads.
Yeah.
And if I
don't want to drop 360 points on a unit of 20 guys that slogs their way up.
I can still argue for a normal the normal Crusader Squad. A Primaris one is right out for me because it's so expensive. Yeah, but a normal Crusader Squad I can make an argument for because it is the cheapest troop choice you can take,
and you can
it's the same cost as a Tactical Marine Squad.
Still give them a chainsword, and the sergeant can still take 2.
I just like chainswords better than bolt guns, so it's slightly better than a Tactical Squad for me. But like, how much better is it? Like, it's only 10 points.
I mean, I might still take it at 90 points.
Yeah, but like 10 points for an intercessor
make me happy about it.
No, absolutely not. Primary Sword Brethren. They are unfortunately keyed to the kit, which we don't actually have yet. But basically, if you have 9 or less models, only 1 of any of these melee options can be taken, except for the Pyre Pistol, which you can take 2 of.
1 each, so you can have a guy with a Thunderhammer, a guy with 2 Lightning Claws, a guy with a Power Axe, a guy with a Power
Pistol
Sword.
is just a AP1 Hand Flamer. Strength.
Now, the whole unit can have chain swords.
Yeah.
Or the whole unit can have power swords. Any models can replace their chain sword with power swords. So you can be homogenized. The main issue with this is they don't. You can't double fight with them.
Yeah.
That's not the biggest deal. They're not master crafted. The Vows Sworn Bladesman, while if Templar Vows are an effective unit, it's not affected.
By the Vows Passion. Cool, but you only have a 3-up save, so your covers.
Cool. It's not the biggest deal, honestly. And this feels. You know what this feels a lot like?
What's that?
The Veteran Intercessor.
Yes. Does.
It feels a lot like...
Because these are the same stat line as Veteran Intercessors.
Yep, it's a Veteran Assault Intercessor.
It's literally a Veteran Intercessor that forgot to get the leader. No, that doesn't have a sergeant because they're only lead 8.
Yeah, they
don't. They don't have a lead 9 sergeant. Which is weird. They're the only veteran that's not lead 9.
If these guys were troops, I would take them because you could take 4
Yeah.
And it's an 88-point unit for 4 of them.
Yeah, it's 22 points base. That's just the normal dude with chain sword and bolt pistol. You can take a power sword, which puts them at 25 each, makes the unit a clean hundo.
I wouldn't do it, though.
I don't think I would.
If they were mastercrafted, that's one thing.
That's the problem, is
If
they're
they were
too close to Blade Guard.
What if they were Blade Guard, didn't have a shield?
If they were 3 wounds, I would really think about it. But they're 2 wounds.
And they're elites.
And they're elites.
That is the death knell for them, is the fact that they're not troops.
Unfortunately, I think the Black Templar data sheet stops at the first page that has both Helbrecht and Grimaldus on it, and that's where you stop.
That is, yes. You don't look any further unless you want to be sad.
So yeah, that is everything in the book, basically. Do they have combat squads?
They do not.
They don't. That's... Really? How do they not have combat squads?
None of the specific Marine units have combat squads.
Oh.
Sanguinary Guard don't. I don't think Wolf Guard do either.
They don't. I know they don't. That's so hurtful.
Yeah, Death Company don't.
I don't... this is tough. There's so many cool things in this book.
Yes.
This feels like Sisters.
This is the overview of the book, right?
Yeah, we're on the overview part. We're actually looking at the comment section now, so if I ignored your comment earlier, I'm so sorry. There's a lot, and I may not scroll through it, but if you ask it again, I probably will answer it. In the overview part, this feels so much like the Sisters book.
It does, but I don't think it's as good.
I don't think it's as wide as the Sisters book because this is one supplement. You don't have all the sub-faction choices or Miracle License mechanic.
No, I don't think... So the main thing you got is you got a whole lot of really, really cool tools.
Yeah, and you have a lot of defensive
You have a lot of defensive stuff, but they took away a lot of the ability to actually use any of them.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up with a lot of cool things attached to models that walk 6 inches every turn. And that's not how you win games of 40k, unfortunately. You can attach some stuff to...
I think it can work.
Okay, I think it can work potentially as like a grindy style of dreadnought balls
I love grindy
and
dreadnought
stuff.
balls.
But I think that firmly sits in B tier as a plan.
Oh, I love grindy dreadnought
balls. I know. I think they do it
Yeah.
worse than Ultramarines. They do it worse than Deathwatch, I think. And and those 2 armies are A tier, and I think that Templars is sitting very much at Iron Hands level, where they do kind of a grindy, shooty, durability game plan, but it's not particularly good at
Iron
it.
Hands shoot a little harder, but ironically, Black Templars are a little tougher inherently.
Yeah.
The 5 of Benevolent Mini Transhuman and the 6 of Feeling Pain from Grimaldus on Dreadnoughts is amazing. Like Black Templars actually get good Dreadnoughts, which is awesome.
Yeah, I just think a mono Dreadnought build where the only buffs you get are durability, you don't get any shooting buffs whatsoever, I think is, as I said, I think it's solidly B tier. But I think that no Space Marine army can be worse than B tier with the current book. Yeah. I think even Imperial Fists are B tier.
Imperial Fists are C tier. Get out of here.
Whatever.
They're so bad.
Sure. I mean, fair enough. They don't have a supplement.
We haven't mentioned the multi-melta thing. So Black Templars did, because they have the upgrade sprue and the Castellan and the Marshal as like new sprues that don't actually get a data sheet. You just get like a little line about updates. So an Impulsor, Gladiator, or any basically the Primaris vehicles can add a pintle-mounted multi-melta for 20 points instead of a thing. That's cool. Honestly, I think
incredibly expensive.
Yeah, I honestly think if I had any of those vehicles, then I do buy the multi-melta. But I don't think that I want any of those vehicles enough that a throwaway multi-melta changes the fact that I don't want it.
I think I take an Impulsor for the Hellblasters get out, get back in trick. But the problem is I don't want to be spending
at that
a
point,
on it. Like, I just don't want to do it.
No, yeah.
It's too many points. I don't want to put my Impulsor in line of sight. I especially don't want to put it within 24 inches if I can help it.
I don't blame you.
So I'm taking it just to be a vehicle, not like to carry my units, not to shoot. So I don't really want to do that. Now the Marshal and whatnot, it's 5 points to get the axe and the corresponding weapon.
It's basically the same thing as a power sword. For the Mastercraft power sword, you get Mastercraft power axe.
And a power axe, a Mastercrafted power axe is better than a Mastercrafted power sword.
I love it.
So you just take that, and you get like a pyre pistol on top of it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. If you're taking a Primaris Lieutenant, Primaris Captain,
great.
You do that instead of taking the Mastercrafted power sword. There you go.
But it's not enough to make me take that character if it wasn't in the list. Just if it's in the list, I probably do take the power axe because I think that's the best.
Yeah, I think you take the power axe and you take one of the 2 pistol weapons because they're tied together. You have to take the pistol and the axe. You're required. Yep. But the axe is free technically, so you take fine. You pay for the pistol, you get the axe with it, And
it's a cool thing. Like, I think technically, like, the Blood Angel Captain gets a free hand flamer because, like, it's not actually a cost.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like a little 5-point special, which is like, if you're taking the character, this is a neat thing to throw in. Yeah, the big thing for me is that so like Sisters, before the new codex, going from old to new, Sisters had a few things that were A+ and a lot of B. And now it feels like everything has gone to B+ A-. Everything
I think
is there.
Black Templars had a lot of stuff that was A+ and a lot of stuff that was C. And I think they went to B across the board. That's the problem. Some things are A, some things are A, but there's no A+, and especially as like an enabler for an entire army. The question in here is, what does the book need? What's missing? Advance and charge.
100%.
1 CP advance and charge. The army is competitive again. It's good again.
That's all I want.
That's all that we need. But without advance and charge, the army is too slow.
Yeah, they used to have it, and they kept a strat of the same name, and for 1 CP, it's advance and fire your rapid fire weapons.
Which is
like,
so much worse. If they had advance and charge, Black Templars would be A tier. Yeah. Without advance and charge, they are bad tier. They're not good. That's my hot take.
And their unique units definitely feel like a miss.
They do. Helbrecht and
Characters
Grimaldi are so cool. I love Black Templars deeply as an army, and I would love nothing more than to be wrong and to play them forever and ever.
I think the playstyle has changed so drastically that we're gonna have to get it on the table. Like, I don't think I'm not throwing the book out. I think it's good. I think what we wanted to do with it based on the old rules is gone. Yeah. And now it has to become a different army. I still think that it can work.
It can work. It has the basic Marine units that are basically Marine efficient and do basic Marine things.
Yeah, Marines are always a board control army.
They are. I think they're certainly not a melee army anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. They used to be all melee.
I think it's a counterpunch army.
It's an army with all shooting, and then you have like a couple characters and one unit that can punch in combat, and that's it.
You can do the same thing as before, where if you go heavy on bodyguards and you don't play against an indirect list, and that's an unfortunate caveat, you can take things like Grimaldus, and Grimaldus stretches out onto an objective and is like, psych, this is mine. Now the fact that I'm slower than before doesn't matter because you have to come to me because I'm scoring points and nothing's happening.
Yeah, I think he doesn't control it the same way in Celestine.
No,
he stretches out longer, for sure.
But he gets OBSEC from right.
Does not hit as hard. No. He does have OBSEC from right, so that is nice.
There's pros and cons to this plan. It's not the same as Celestine. Grimaldus is not Celestine, I get that.
No, but
you can try to do the same thing with that and Devout Push, and then passive secondaries by being Marines, where you're just getting points while controlling the board. And that's going to lead to a lot of games that are like 80-60, which is what happened with my Sisters, which is good. It feels like Marine Sisters, and I feel like it's going to have to play the same, where you end up taking a list that kind of has a little bit of punch all over the place, a little bit of more durable than expected, a little bit of not as fast as I want to be, but you have to come to me, and then random splash morals.
The problem is that that Sisters have a lot of enabling tools in their book, and Black Templars don't. They have a lot of things that will work once you've delivered it to your target, but they have almost nothing that helps you get there. And so Sisters...
And the lack of Miracle Dice is obviously
Lack of Miracle Dice is big. You can't charge out of reserves. You don't have Repentia that can still threat range like 24 inches, which is... Like, if we had the ability... Because Sisters still have the ability to advance and charge with a nasty combat unit.
Yes.
So you still have that melee threat range. So you have a little melee threat range instead of a lot of melee threat range. You have like some decent shooting that's mobile, and you can pull some nonsense, and you have some good characters. And it feels like Black Templars is just a toned down version of a lot of that.
Yep. I think however you rank Sisters on the power level chart, I think Black Templars sit one below.
Yeah. So if Sisters are A, Black Templars are B. Sisters are B, Black Templars are C.
If we throw minuses in, I would say that. Like, I think Sisters are A minus. I think Black Templars are floating B plus.
I don't think they're B plus at all. I think they're solid B.
Well, we haven't gotten much testing of them yet, so
that's true. I will be playing them tomorrow, and I would love
Thursday.
Absolutely nothing more than to be wrong about this. I would. I really, 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 really would. I have a Black Templars army. I don't paint that much, but I painted it. I did. It's actually ready. Maybe not some of the newer units yet. Once we get those, I'll paint them out
there. Yeah.
But I feel like it went from being a fast, dynamic combat army to being an army that moves 6 inches or 5 inches at you every turn.
Yep.
And
That's what it is.
The threat range is so much lower.
Yeah. So yeah, I would love it in a normal meta, honestly, where it feels like it doesn't come out and immediately become the best thing in the game, but it feels competitive against a lot of things. It doesn't feel immediately top tier. I think right now the problem is that we've got those, that elephant in the room of there's a couple armies that are dominating win rates right now.
Yeah, I don't think even if those get toned down, I think this will stay at B tier. I think that it's in the same vein as Dark Angels and Death Guard, where you can make a slow, grindy, move up the table shooting army, and that is not the best way to play 40k in 9th edition. Definitely the best way is to be fast.
I actually like Templars as a team's army a lot.
It's not bad as a team's army. Yeah. It's not bad as a team's
army. That grinding
army.
playstyle does get a lot more appealing in teams.
It does. But just like you want to be fast, you want to. If you're in a melee army, you need to be fast. Period. There is no 6-inch melee army in the game. You can't do it.
The problem is that a lot of these a lot of these things that we're talking about really cater themselves towards the 6-inch movers like Terminator's Blade Guard. You can take Van Vets, and I think you have to take more than we were taking before. But they're definitely, because like Space Wolves have the same exact thing. They're literally Space Wolves versus Black Templars. They're the same speed, except Templars have Devout Push, so technically they're 3 inches faster. And Space Wolves get it done. But Space Wolves build themselves more towards Van Vets, and I think the problem is that some of the Black Templar buffs are like, wow, this is at its best on Terminators, or at its best on Blade Guard, not it's on its best on Van Vets.
Yeah, and they also have a super doctrine that makes them actually good in combat, and we don't. Yeah. Unfortunately. So
well, if your opponent has a Psyche, you get a little faster.
If your opponent has a Psyche, you get a little faster turn 1.
Turn 1.
If that was every turn of the game, I would, as a team's army, you just pair into Psychers and suddenly you're fast again.
Yep.
But you're just not. Literally, advance and charge is what this army needs, and then I would be all kinds of excited about it. Yep. And it just doesn't have it, and the army kind of falls apart without it.
Agreed, unfortunately. Couple questions there. First one, this one's for you, Jack. Black Templars versus Blood Angels. If they're a solid B tier, what do you think?
Which one?
Blood Angels or Black Templars. What would you put higher? What do you think's better?
I think Blood Angels.
I think it's Blood Angels.
I think I would be more happy taking. Now, that to be fair, I have refined a Blood Angel list that I really like and that works really well for me in tournaments too. The all melee jump pack Blood Angels list I think can be phenomenally strong if you play it correctly. Whereas I have not refined any Black Templars list, so that's not a fair comparison. At the moment, I would rather take that Blood Angels list to a tournament. If I had to take it to a tournament, I would say that Blood Angels list is stronger than Black Templars this book. As I said, I haven't refined it yet, but a melee army, they're completely different armies because Blood Angels is fast melee and Black Templars is slow melee, and slow melee does not work. So you cannot be slow melee. You have to be dreads, you have to be shooting, you have to be other stuff.
I like Black Templars better than Blood Angels because I think Blood Angels are too one-dimensional. I think Black Templars, the way their buffs are oriented, because it's defensive and some tricks and some grind, I think that lends itself better towards a take-all-comer list.
As I said, I've refined a list, and I have not refined a list for Black Templars, so it's not fair.
Yeah.
I think they're very different armies. I think that Blood Angels actually have a combat army style, and Black Templars don't.
That's true. Someone says that we should take 3 Redemptors, 2 Fire Rappers, and Grimalda's done. Yes, the famous Blackwing. I
should take the Thousand Suns approach.
Absolutely. It's all over and it's weird. I love a lot of the individual things in this codex, so I choose to believe that there is going to be a way to put it all together. Because we said the same thing after Sisters, where that when they lost Advance and Charge, the army still works. Yeah, Sisters still work without Advance and Charge. Black Templars, I'm not going to be doom and gloom because I think that they do still have cool stuff. They're going to have to change a lot, and we're going to have to practice it and figure out what works. Like, we were down on Sisters for over a month before we figured it out.
I wasn't down on Sisters very much when they came out. I feel differently about Black Templars. Yep. And the reason I wasn't down on Sisters as much is because the units that they had got better.
Yeah.
And you have a whole lot of extra ways to do damage at range.
Yes.
And you still had the ability to advance and charge Repentia, who now were just cheaper and better. So you still, instead of going all in on melee threat, you could still have melee threat at range. And you could still take that, and then you could take the range damage, and you could take shenanigans. And Black Templars now no longer has melee threat at range, not even a single unit, unfortunately.
It's literally Van Vet's charging.
It's literally Van Vet's moving 12 and charging.
Yep.
And that is
fine.
It's not the same, certainly.
No, it's not.
Especially because, you can move 12, and you can charge it +2 if you want to take that litany, which is a cost to take the litany. And then you re-roll it. It's not nearly as reliable as Repentia just going 24.
Agreed on that.
And Repentia are cheaper, and they're good trading pieces. So I think that Sisters had a lot more tools to actually enact a game plan on the board.
I agree.
And Black Templars have a lot of tricks.
They have tricks, and they have to rely on generic Marine stuff, which right now is good, but not the top.
Yeah. I think... Yeah. I don't think they're going to be a bad army by any means. I think they're bad compared to where they were. I don't think they can be a bad army because I don't think generic dreads and Space Marine shooting and nonsense is a bad army.
Redemptors and Van Vets is generically good. And this makes those builds a little bit better. It doesn't make them a ton better.
Yeah. And you have trouble cracking into the top tier with a dread Van Vet build. Yeah. If you're not, well, in general. But also, why would you take that over like Ultramarines or Deathwatch? You don't hit harder than basic Marines, and you are more durable, but they can still die. So that's my main issue. Is I feel like you just don't have the means to enact all these cool tricks. If you started 6 inches away from your opponent, Black Templars would be an amazing army. They have so many tools. Yeah, but you just can't use them.
You do have a lot of tools.
Yeah,
we'll see. There's a lot going on with Black Templars. I am excited to get them on the table. I'm excited for us to practice it, see how it works in practice. I do agree with you that some of the things in this book feel like a miss, but some of the things feel like they got better. So what's the net going to be? Hard to say. I know you feel like they went down a little bit. On paper, I think I agree, but there's enough there that I still want to put it on the table to make sure.
I mean, I'll be doing my best. I'll be putting it on the table tomorrow and Thursday as well. I'll be putting a lot of the cool combos that we've talked about into the army to try and see if that by itself is enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to give it a shot, and I think it does have to play very differently to before. So maybe I'm wrong.
Might be there.
I hope I am. That would be awesome. I'd be the
I hope so
happiest
too.
boy.
I would love it if Black Templars found a way to work.
I will be giving it a shot, but we'll see.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I think that just about wraps us up for today. I'm excited to get them on the table. We'll be seeing that tomorrow into Richard's Necrons. We'll be seeing it on Thursday into my sisters in the War Room. And we've got a lot of content coming up this week. Notably on YouTube, we've got 40K Today coming up at 5 p.m. And then, of course, if you're in the War Room, then we've got Meta Monday at 4. If perhaps you've been watching this YouTube channel and you kind of want to get a little bit more, make sure you check out the War Room. As well, we just added a new YouTube tier where for $15 a month, you get access to the part 2s of all of our podcasts. So that's both The Art of War, The Art of War Unbroken, and Art of War Down Under. And we also do give away one Art of War video a week, I should say. One War Room video a week goes onto our YouTube for our members. So make sure you check that out. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit all of those fun buttons, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.